You're sitting inside a steel box that smells like gasoline, sweat, and fear. It's June 1944. You're 19 years old, and you've never killed anyone. The tank is a Sherman. The Army calls it reliable. The Germans call it a coffin. You're about to find out who's right. There are 5 of you stuffed inside this thing. The commander sits up top in the turret. The gunner is next to him. The loader is behind. You're the driver, crammed into a seat at the front left with your face inches from a tiny slit of glass. That slit is the only way you can see the outside world. And right now, the outside world is a beach in Normandy. The landing craft drops its ramp. Salt water rushes in. The engine roars beneath you, and the whole tank shakes like it's about to fall apart. You push the sticks forward. The tracks bite into wet sand. You're rolling. Shells are landing everywhere. Explosions send columns of water and sand into the air. You can't see much through the viewpoint. Just flashes, smoke, and shapes running in every direction. The radio is screaming, "Move up! Move up! Don't stop on the beach!" You don't stop. You push the throttle as hard as it goes. The Sherman lurches forward, grinding over obstacles, driftwood, and things you don't want to think about. A bullet pings off the hull, then another. It sounds like someone throwing rocks at a dumpster. Your hands are shaking on the steering levers, but you keep driving. You have to keep driving. If you stop on this beach, you die. The tank climbs a sand dune, and for a second you're airborne. The tracks slam back down. You're off the beach. You're inland. You made it. A lot of guys behind you didn't. Your commander's name is Sergeant Mackey. He's 24, which makes him the old man of the crew. He fought in North Africa. He's seen things. He doesn't talk about them. He pops open the hatch and sticks his head out to get a look at the terrain. You want to scream at him to get back inside, but that's his job. He's the eyes of the tank. Without him looking out, you're all blind. Left, 200 yards. Hedgerow, stop here. You pull the levers, and the tank grinds to a halt behind a stone wall. Welcome to France. It's nothing like the postcards. The bocage country is a nightmare for tanks. Every field is surrounded by thick hedgerows, ancient walls of earth, and roots taller than a man. You can't see over them. You can't drive through them. Every gap is a kill zone. The Germans know this. They've been here for 4 years, and they've turned every field into a trap. Your gunner is a guy from Chicago named Kowalski. He talks too much, but he's the best shot in the platoon. He can put a round through a barn door at 800 yards, which sounds impressive until you realize the German tanks can do the same thing at twice the distance. The loader is a quiet kid from Georgia everyone calls Biscuit. He never explains why. He can load a 75mm shell in under 5 seconds. That's going to matter. The co-driver sits next to you. His name is Pete. He operates the Hull machine gun. He's also your best friend. You grew up on the same street in Pennsylvania. You enlisted together. You promised each other's mothers you'd bring each other home. You're starting to wonder if that was a promise you should have made. You push through a gap in the hedgerow. The field ahead looks empty. It's never empty. Mackey is scanning with binoculars. Hold up. Something's not right. Then you see it. A muzzle flash from the tree line 400 yards out. The sound hits a half-second later. A crack so loud it rattles your teeth. The round misses your tank by inches and punches through the Sherman behind you. You hear the explosion over the radio. Screaming. Then static. That's a Panther, Kowalski says. His voice is calm, but his hands are moving fast. The German Panther tank is better than your Sherman in almost every way. Its armor is thicker. Its gun is bigger. It can kill you from a mile away, and your 75mm gun can't punch through its front plate at any distance. The only way to kill a Panther is to hit it from the side or the rear. That means you have to get close. That means someone has to be bait. Mackey calls it in. 2 Shermans swing left. You swing right. The plan is simple. Drive straight at the thing that's trying to kill you while your friends try to flank it. Driver advance. Full speed. You push the sticks forward. The engine screams. 30 tons of steel start rolling across an open field toward a gun that just destroyed a tank in one shot. This is the worst idea you've ever heard. But you trust Mackie. Trust the plan. You don't have a better one. The Panther fires again. The round goes high, clipping a tree branch that crashes onto your hull. Kowalski fires back. The shell bounces off the Panther's front armor like a pebble off a brick wall. No good! Too thick! Kowalski shouts. You keep driving. 300 yards, 200 yards. The Panther is reloading. You have seconds. Mackie is screaming directions. The two flanking Shermans break through the hedgerow on the left side. One of them fires. The round hits the Panther in the side. Sparks fly. Smoke pours out of the engine deck. The Panther tries to turn its turret, but it's too slow. The second Sherman fires. Direct hit. The Panther lurches, and then it's burning. You stop the tank. Your heart is beating so hard you can hear it over the engine. Kowalski lets out a breath he's been holding in for 30 seconds. Biscuit is sitting on a pile of shell casings, eyes wide. Pete crosses himself. Good driving, kid, Mackie says. That's the closest thing to a compliment he's ever given. The days blur together. You push deeper into France. Every village is a fight. Every crossroads is an ambush. You learn things they didn't teach you in training. You learn that a Sherman's armor can stop small arms fire, but not much else. You learn that the fuel tank is right behind you. And it runs on gasoline, not diesel. One good hit, and the whole thing lights up like a torch. The crews call them Ronsons, after the cigarette lighter. Lights every time. You try not to think about that. You learn to sleep sitting up because there's no room to lie down. You learn to eat cold rations because you can't leave the tank in contested territory. You eat canned meat and stale crackers while sitting on top of enough ammunition to level a building. You learn to relieve yourself into empty shell casings because there's no bathroom in a Sherman. Nobody told you about that part in the recruitment posters. But you also learn what your crew means to you. These 4 guys are your entire world. Mackie keeps you alive with his decisions. Kowalski keeps you alive with his aim. Biscuit keeps you alive with his speed. Pete keeps you alive by watching angles you can't see. And you keep them alive by driving, by not freezing, by putting the tank where it needs to be when it needs to be there. You don't talk about feelings. You talk about baseball. You talk about girls back home. You argue about whether chocolate or vanilla is better. You talk about anything except the fact that every time you roll through a hedgerow gap, it might be the last thing you ever do. Then comes the day, everything changes. You're advancing through a village. The buildings are shattered, rubble everywhere. It's quiet, too quiet. Mackie says it, and nobody laughs because it's actually too quiet. You're crawling down a narrow street when Pete spots something. Movement! Second floor, left side! Mackie traverses the turret. You stop the tank. The building looks abandoned, but something moved behind a window. Then you hear it, a sound that freezes your blood, a high-pitched whistle followed by a whoosh. A Panzerfaust. German anti-tank rocket. Cheap, simple, and deadly at close range. Any soldier can carry one. Any soldier can kill your tank with one. The rocket streaks across the street and slams into the side of your turret. The explosion is deafening inside the tank. Sparks and shrapnel spray everywhere. The tank rocks sideways. Smoke fills the interior instantly. You can't see. You can't breathe. Mackie is yelling. Biscuit is screaming. Something is wrong. You hear Kowalski cursing in Polish. You feel heat on your legs. That's not a good sign. Driver, reverse, now! You pull the levers back. The tank lurches backward, smashing through a low wall. You keep going. 20 yards, 30. You slam into something solid and stop. The smoke is clearing. Mackie is bleeding from a gash on his forehead, but he's alive. Kowalski is alive. You look back at Biscuit. He's holding his arm. It's burned badly. He's not screaming anymore. He's gone quiet, and that scares you more than the screaming. Pete is already pulling out the medical kit. The rocket didn't penetrate the hull. The armor held, barely, but the impact sent metal fragments flying inside the turret. Biscuit caught the worst of it. He can't load shells with one arm. He can barely move. We need to get him out, Pete says. Mackie makes the call. He radios for a medic. You pop the hatch. Pete and Kowalski lift Biscuit out of the turret and lay him on the engine deck. He looks up at the sky. He's shaking. "Tell my mama I didn't cry," he whispers. You don't say anything. You just hold his good hand until the medics come and take him away on a stretcher. You never see Biscuit again. You hear later that he made it home, lost the use of his right arm, but alive. You hope he's eating biscuits somewhere in Georgia and telling people how he got his nickname. They send a replacement loader, kid named Davis. He's 18. He's never been inside a tank before. He doesn't know the crew's rhythms. He doesn't know when Kowalski is about to call for a round. He doesn't know where to brace when you make a hard turn. He'll learn, or he won't. You push into Germany. The fighting gets worse. The Germans are desperate now. You're on their soil. They throw everything at you. Tiger tanks, anti-tank guns, kids with Panzerfausts who look younger than Davis. You don't want to think about that either. The final weeks are a blur of burning towns and white flags. Some Germans surrender in groups, hands up, eyes hollow. Others fight to the last bullet. You never know which kind you're going to meet when you turn a corner. Then, one morning, the radio crackles with a message you've been waiting years to hear. "Cease fire. All units hold position. The war in Europe is over." You stop the tank in the middle of a German road lined with apple trees. You turn off the engine. For the first time in months, you hear silence. Real silence. No shells, no machine guns, no screaming. Just birds and wind. Mackie climbs out of the hatch and sits on the turret. Kowalski lights a cigarette with shaking hands. Davis starts crying. He doesn't try to hide it. Pete looks at you through the hull and smiles. You made it, both of you. You kept your promise. You climb out of the driver's seat for the last time. Your legs are stiff. Your back is wrecked. You're 20 years old, and you feel like you're 60. You've driven this tank across France, through Belgium, and into the heart of Germany. You've survived things that no training manual could prepare you for. You sit on the hull and look at the sky. It's blue. Perfectly, stupidly blue. You think about your mom's kitchen. You think about cold milk and warm bread. You think about a bed with actual sheets. You think about sleeping without the sound of engines. Pete climbs up and sits beside you. "You know what I want to do when we get home?" he says. "What?" "Absolutely nothing. For a very long time." You laugh. It's the first real laugh you've had in a year. Mackie looks back at you two and almost smiles. Almost. You pat the side of the Sherman. You've cursed this machine every day for the last 11 months. You've called it a death trap, a tin can, an oven. But it brought you home. All of you. Well, most of you. You think about Biscuit. You think about the crew in the Sherman behind you on that first day. You think about the dozens of tanks you saw burning on roadsides across Europe. You got lucky. You know that. Skill kept you alive some days, but luck kept you alive most of them. A French kid runs up to the tank and hands you a flower. You don't know what kind it is. You tuck it into the viewport slot where you spent thousands of hours staring at the world through a tiny piece of glass. "Let's go home," Mackie says. "Yeah, let's go home." If you like this video, consider becoming a channel member. Your support directly helps us create more videos like this. Watch this video next.